Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News Channel. Plateau killings. Last Sunday, there was yet another round of brutal killings in Plateau State by suspected herdsmen, resulting in the death of over 100 persons, including children. Several news headlines quoted the Apex Cattle Breeders Organization, Miyetti Allah's leader, Danladi Shiroma, as saying that the killings were an act of retaliation. He has since, of course, denied this, and the news channel that carried that particular piece of information has apologized. Now, it's a very serious matter in Nigeria. While the Miyetti Allah has since denied the statements, one thing that cannot be denied is the incessant violent conflicts between farmers and herdsmen, particularly in the Plateau area, also in Benue, in Teriba, in Zamfara, in Adamawa. I mean, so many parts of Nigeria are having issues in terms of relationships between settlers and indigenes, between, herdsmen and the pastoralists. And in the Plateau particularly, there is this big fight over the ownership of the land. And there are many Nigerians who are saying Nigeria is slipping into anarchy. Do you think the country is slipping into anarchy, or is right now at the edge of a precipice?
Well, we've confronted this situation in other states in recent times that you'd have expected that by now we should have done enough to avert, a repeat, of such elsewhere. So it's unfortunate, that we once again allowed this, to happen. And, it's about time. There was a time that even the government said a committee has been put together. You remember? Chad?
Yeah, but in Nigeria, if you don't want to deal with a problem, you just form a committee and you go to sleep.
Yeah, so it's, I do not think that Nigeria is sliding into anarchy. I think that more needs to be done to prevent and confront this sort of
but what could be worse? What could be worse than this?
Between herdsmen.
What could be worse than this?
And
where human lives
farmers
no longer seem to hold any value.
Well, we cannot give up hope. We have to hope. That somehow we will be able to bring the different parties, since the parties in the conflict are known to be herdsmen and to be farmers. And that will do more. To try and make sure that these incidents are prevented.
Well, but I mean, in Plateau State, for example, 45 villages were razed, okay? And throughout the period of that attack, no security agency could move in and prevent the situation. Why should that be the case in a country where there is the rule of law?
Yeah, it's the kind of, crisis we've had elsewhere should, suggest that you should have heavy security presence, in these locations.
But in spite of all of this,
unfortunately,
the chief of Army Staff, okay, is saying that Nigeria's security outlook is positive, and that the army, has done its very best to prevent these clashes, these conflicts. Now, what he says seems to be completely at variance with the reality. Why do you think the chief of Army Staff would talk like that?
Yeah, I can't answer for him, but he's talking about outlook when we're talking about reality, of a large number of people being killed. He should address more of what's on the ground. He should address the facts rather than say anybody can tell you outlook is bright, outlook is about future, that we have problems on our hands here, so you should get in. Get them to speak more about what's before us rather than...
Well, the affected persons have adopted two kinds of approach. There are persons who are saying, look, they will stockpile arms, okay? And that was why I talked about anarchy earlier on. In fact, there is a video going around showing even women in the Middle Belt area learning how to handle arms and ammunition, okay? And then there's another group that has decided to take the matter to the International Court of Justice at The Hague to say that the people of the Benue Plateau axis, the Biroms, the Tius, the Junkuns, that they are now victims of genocide under the current administration in Nigeria?
Well, it's going to be difficult to say that people shouldn't defend themselves.
So you agree that the people who are stockpiling arms should go ahead and do so and protect themselves?
I don't agree, but we have to do enough to ensure that they are protected, by the regular security agencies. If you continue to have breaches of their security, it's going to be difficult to tell them not to try and defend themselves, or what they call armed reaction. They are not going to be able to stop it, because if it happened in that village today, you want to prepare so that it doesn't happen in your village.
45 villages.
Yeah, the next time.
In Plateau State.
So unless government does and says enough to assure the generality of the people that they will protect them, people will, resort to
the government has said that already. The president went there, he lamented. The vice president went there, he lamented. You think this is about lamentation? Because
the fact that they went there is reassuring. That's right.
Yeah, but
going there is reassuring, and that raises our hope, of they reacting enough, putting enough measures in place to ensure that we don't hear about these things again. And for those who have gone to the court, the matter is in court, so let's wait and see what progress.
It's not about the matter being in court. It's that they have taken the matter to the international arena.
Yes.
To draw the international community to the fact that there is a serious crisis in Nigeria. And of course, many governments and international agencies have lamented the fact that there seems to be a killing field that has emerged in Nigeria and that threatens to be even worse than Boko Haram. Isn't that really the tragic?
Well, I don't know about being worse than Boko Haram, but I want to emphasize that this is a problem for all of us. This is a problem that we all like to see solved. And I hope that the government is going to have enough response to solve the problem, rather than seeking to blame.
Well, it's time now for a break here on This Day Live, this Sunday talk show. I still have Teriba with me in the studio. Don't go away. Welcome back to This Day Live, this Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. 30 African heads of state have attended the opening ceremony of the 31st African Union Summit in Mauritania's capital, Nouakchott. The conference is being held as part of efforts to address the continent's challenges with corruption and insecurity. Leaders are also using the two-day event to find ways of ending the diversion of Africa's wealth, something that is hindering the continent's development. The AU says approximately 70% of income from Africa's resources is squandered or diverted. The heads of state say they are hoping to agree to set up a mechanism to return stolen money, which is largely placed in tax havens abroad. Other issues to be addressed at the summit include the establishment of a free trade zone and the ongoing conflict in South Sudan. Now, Teriba, one big issue coming out of this AU summit in Nouakchott, the repatriation of stolen funds, the existence of tax havens, and the big subject of corruption. What do you think that African countries can do to prevent this resort to havens abroad where you can just go and keep stolen money, both at the national level and at the bilateral level?
Oh, well, of the three subjects, I guess the one they can really do something about, money that's been stolen and kept, abroad, you're trying to get it back. Would have been better he didn't leave in the first place. And heavens are there, it's not just African countries that have to deal with that. It's other continents as well. The one that they can do something, they can really achieve things about, is to be honest about the anti-corruption fight at home. You know, so there is no very little point. You know, we are crying over spilled milk. You know, try and ensure that there are no further spills, which is, you know, my view. And it's good that the African heads of state are making it an issue for their summits. This is not the first time they are talking about, you know, anti-corruption. If they could demonstrate to us that they can progress beyond rhetoric, you know, and show some, you know, concrete achievements on that front, it will be in the interest of Africa. Because much of the reforms that you want to do, you know, across African countries will be undermined by corruption. If you do not ensure, you know, that corruption is tamed, then there's very little point talking about other reforms.
Well, I mean, at this particular summit, the press statement from State House, Nigeria, indicated that President Buhari is going to give a special talk on the issue of corruption. And you know that earlier in the year, in January, he was named the anti-corruption champion in Africa. But between then and now, and the situation in Nigeria, and some of the episodes we have heard about reports of corruption, even under this administration, do you think President Buhari can still stand before, you know, the AU and talk about how to fight corruption?
Well, there's no reason why President Buhari cannot stand before any audience and talk about how to fight corruption. Yes, it's one of the main pillars, the three main pillars of his policies. It was security, corruption, and the economy. And unless you can accuse him of being corrupt, then he has the moral right to stand and talk about it. So, and I do believe that his credibility remains intact. I do not think that between January and now you could have said that the corruption situation in Nigeria has worsened. I don't think that will be true. Yes, it will always be nice to achieve more, yeah, but it's good. But the African continent is showing recognition of our own president's anti-corruption credentials. And it's important that, you know, through these summits, they come out with resolutions that will help the
one of the issues on the table
to spread across the continent.
One of the issues on the table at this summit is the issue of the African Continental Free Trade Zone. And you remember that when a summit was held on this particular subject in Kigali, Nigeria
refrained. Nigeria didn't even attend.
Yes, Nigeria
refrained from signing. Yes,
and there were pressures from the manufacturing sector in Nigeria and protests about how Nigeria, being part of the free movement of goods and persons and services across Africa, could be at a disadvantage. Now, since this matter is on the table, what do you think, you know, should be the interest of Nigeria? Should Nigeria still hold on to its position, its protectionist position, or should Nigeria see the need to review its position?
Well, Nigeria did not project a protectionist position because indeed that African Continental Free Trade Area is Nigeria's initiative. It was printed by
Nigeria did not sign any of the...
sign. You know, hadn't signed at the time. They still have time. You know, I think they have, was it 6 months or so from March to do so. So I believe that the consultation that the government had failed to do with the stakeholders as of March has now been done. I know that, you know, government has gone across the 6 geopolitical zones and, you know, consulted with business groups. And my sense, the sense I got from the conversation is that Nigeria should sign, you know, any moment from now.
Well, one of the things President Buhari will be doing at this summit is to hold a meeting on the sidelines with President Emmanuel Macron of France. And on Tuesday, just after this summit, President Macron will also be visiting Nigeria. What should be the strategic issues that the two countries should be talking about?
Well, so you are saying that, we are talking about AU summit, and you are mentioning the president of France.
Yes, he will be there.
He will be on
and our president is meeting with him on the sidelines. And almost immediately after...
French now an African country. Somebody has joked that France is the only African country remaining in the World Cup.
No, that's not the point. I mean, when the AU hosts a summit,
yes.
Other stakeholders are invited.
I understand.
The European Union, the World Bank, multilateral institutions, and sometimes heads of other countries may be specially invited.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, but I wanted you to comment on, the relationship between Nigeria and France.
I haven't seen, the points, that the Nigerian government wishes to be discussing, with the French government. So I'm not in a position
to comment on that. But in any case, when President Macron visits Lagos on Tuesday, the Lagos state government has already issued an advisory, a traffic advisory, saying that, there will be restriction of movement between 12 noon and 12 midnight, and that parts of Lagos may be shut down. Do you think that will be necessary, or that should be necessary? Because I don't think President Macron himself will shut down parts of Paris, if anybody is visiting.
Yeah, I actually don't think we should resort to such extremes. The last time this happened was when the president visited Lagos on a state visit, and the commissioned the bus terminus. I don't think that Lagos...
And Nigerians were really agitated on that occasion.
Yeah, I don't think shutting the city down from noon to midnight...
Not the whole city, though.
Where,
parts of the city.
But you could provide security for when they're passing. But 12 hours, as it seems to be suggested, I'm not sure that it's going to be...
Well, there's a statement to that effect.
Yes.
There's a statement.
Yeah, so they can minimize the number of hours for which it could be.
And then President Macron, we're told, will be visiting Fela's African shrine. Why should the African shrine be a special attraction for the president of France?
You'll have to ask him.
Well, we'll take another short break here on this Live, the Sunday Talk Show. When we return, we'll talk briefly about the World Cup. Don't go away.